right. Welcome everyone to Back to Back, a show where we watch series of movies for as long as we can be bothered. I'm
That's
Noah,
right.
Noah Struby.
Yeah, I'm Cree Faber. I'm the co-host, the also host.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
ready?
So, how have you been? Have you been, man? I haven't seen you in a while.
Well, I've been doing pretty good. I'm trying to adjust to life totally at home now, but it has not done wonders for my
Yeah,
concentration on any sort of schoolwork of any kind. But
yeah.
I'm getting along. You know what
Can
also
imagine.
what also hasn't done wonders for my concentration is what we're about to talk about. Am I right?
What we're
Yeah.
watching tonight? We watched the Santa Claus
The Santa
movies.
Clauses, yeah, they're
S- So you've gotten through the first two.
I've gotten through the first two back to back, baby, in 24
I
hours.
I've I watched all three of them in 3 days. I was
Okay.
recovering from wisdom teeth surgery,
Ooh.
so
So, so I'm coming at this from no nostalgia, and you're coming at this from you
all
just
the
got your wisdom teeth.
nostalgia.
Yeah, all the nostalgia and wisdom teeth removal.
Yeah.
Speaking of
So
wisdom
who
teeth,
knows how this is gonna go?
speaking of teeth removal, we'll get to that in the
We're
second
have
one,
we're
won't
not there.
we?
We're not
We're
there
not
yet.
there yet. Wow, these are All right, yeah. You want to introduce the thing we're going to be talking about?
Yeah. So the Santa Claus was released in 1994 and stars Tim Allen,
94.
Eric Lloyd, and David Krumholtz, and the
I know
director is
one of
John
those people.
Pasquin.
I still know one of those people.
I know I know two
94,
of those
huh?
people.
When did
Yeah,
when did Back to
1994.
the Future come out?
1985. No, 1985. Yeah,
When did Star Wars come out?
1977.
Okay, then this is inexcusable.
Oh, really? Come on, man.
Okay.
Is that your? Before we get into all that, I need a recap. We need
All
a
right.
quick recap of this
I'll
movie.
I'll go through what happens just in case anyone who's going to be listening to this, the three people who might hop on and listen to this, have not seen the Santa Claus movies. I guess I recommend you watch them before this, but regardless, I think you'll get a good idea of what they are. But I feel like
Mhm.
they're a classic Christmas movie, right? Like I was surprised I hadn't seen them until this point.
Yeah, they're sort of. At least the first one is considered a classic.
Okay, I guess that's usually how it goes. But all right, recap. So there's a man, and he kills a beloved childhood hero, and then he has to become that hero by magic. And
Perfect.
is there anything else? He gets really long. He becomes a long man, and he slinks down tubes. He's slinking down tubes. That's what I remember from it, and I just watched this last night. All right. Ultimately, you know what my take is?
What?
It's pretty dumb, but it's somewhat endearing. It's got endearing qualities to it that I think we'll get to, but I wouldn't watch it again. Do you know what I mean? Like it was all right.
I
Like
guess I could
it's a
say
good
that.
enough movie, but there's other Christmas movies that I think I like more, and
Yeah,
it's
we'll
so
get to some of the
weird.
dumb things.
It gets so much
These
weirder
movies
as it
kind
goes
of.
on. I'm so afraid to watch the third one because after the second one, I'm like, oh no, this could go anywhere.
The
After
third one sucks.
after after Stalin's Santa Claus, we could go anywhere.
Oh, we'll
Jesus,
get there. We'll get
we'll
there.
get there. Okay, the first one, I'd say
Um,
it's a little compared to the second one. I feel like I have less to talk about with this one, but yeah,
uh,
I guess before we get into it, I've already
these
addressed
movies raise these movies raise a lot of questions,
mainly child
and they
labor
don't
law
provide.
questions. That's one of
Actually,
them.
that's one of the things that I like. I actually think casting. So one of the creative
Uh-huh.
decisions that this movie makes is all the elves are played by children. All the elves except for David Krumholtz, who is in his 20s, who plays
He's in his
Bernard the
20s.
head elf.
He looks like he's
He's in his
15.
30s in the second one.
Jesus. Okay, well he's pulled off that kid look. And I guess it definitely grew on me after the first one. The fact they were all kids. It's like, okay, he's a jolly old character and he's like getting along with these kids and I think it's more endearing in the
It
second
adds
one.
I think it adds a layer of like wonder when you see about all these kids running around in this
I think
magical North Pole area.
Mm-hmm. He's the. Although it does create for some weird scenes in the second one, but we'll get to that. Yeah. So it's. What I was saying, yeah. Before we get into it, the CGI is pretty jarring. Like when I first watched it, I'm like, whew, this.
There's not
looks
much
like
CGI in this,
but when
what
it's
is in
there
it
is really bad. Couldn't they have done, like for the flying bits? Couldn't they have done models? Because I know they did puppetry for the puppetry. They did some puppetry for the reindeer.
For the
and
reindeer?
They look pretty good.
The
like
reindeer puppets, I think, look fantastic.
they look pretty good for the most part. Don't like that they talk in the second one, but we'll get to that. No, they.
Is this whole review gonna be? We'll get.
This is all gonna be like, oh no, you just wait for the second one. You ain't seen nothing yet. But no, I feel like the puppet reindeer were really good, and I feel like the set, while looking a little bit like a cheap theme park, kind of fits the theme of the movie. But when you see him just fading off in the distance like a PS1 cutscene. It's just a little...
Oh, when he goes down the chimney.
Oh, that too. It took me a bit to adjust to it, but I'm like, okay, I'll give it a break. It's old. It's 94, you said. So I'll give it a break there.
It came out in 94.
But it's still... it's still excruciating to watch when he goes down the chimney.
It's not in it very much.
Yeah.
I think there's more visual effects in the second one.
I think it looks better in the second one, though. Like, there's...
Second one also came out in 2002.
2002? So they sat on this for 6 years. They're like, that weird-ass Christmas movie we made. We can make another one. And make it as good, but also very weird. Okay. What did you think of it? This has been a lot of my opinions. Oh, yeah?
I like this movie. It's weird.
I know you do.
And I don't like a lot of stuff about it.
Okay.
Particularly like Tim Allen.
You don't like Tim Allen?
A lot of this movie is just Tim Allen playing Tim Allen, where he's like a man's man, and he's
being
like
a guy. Everybody in this movie looks like just some guy. Like he's just being a snarky dude. But everyone in this movie just like he just looks like someone's dad.
I actually have a running list
of
I have a running list of fuck Tim Allen.
Do you not like Tim Allen?
Put down for
he
all
seems like a charming just a dad.
He's fine. But like
he's not
the
a
characters
bad man
he
in real life,
tends to
is
play,
he?
He's fine in real life.
Okay. As most people are, aren't they?
But if you ever watch any of the sitcoms he's on, like Home Improvement or Last Man Standing, he's pretty much just playing Scott Calvin, except like...
So he's like sort of like a Kevin Costner, and he's got one character, and that's who they cast him as?
Yeah, but when he's actually like being Santa, like when he's doing the Santa stuff, I actually think it really, really works. Like, yeah, I think it's...
I mean, I guess that's the idea, but he's definitely more charming as Santa Claus, which I thought would be weird. I thought it'd be weird seeing this man turn to a slightly older, fatter man. But no, I thought he's really endearing as Santa, and the prosthetics and stuff they do
to the role.
Yeah, the prosthetics and stuff they do look really good. Like, even in his in-between stages when he's gaining weight and then, like, gaining a little bit of facial hair, it looks like a real person. Like, it's surprisingly good. Mm-hmm. Maybe not surprisingly.
Yeah, especially when you get to the end when he's full-on Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm. Like, I really believe that he is this old man, that he's this old jolly rosy man employing children.
Yeah. So he works, except in the beginning where I just wrote all the reasons why Scott Calvin is a terrible person.
He's just kind of a dick. He just goes around being kind of a bum.
My phone keeps buzzing.
Oh. I don't mind. Let's hear it. Let's hear the list.
So So here's just a list of random thoughts. First of all, snatching the microphone, bad form. Right at the beginning of the movie, his co-worker's talking. He grabs the microphone, bad form.
That rubbed me the wrong way.
I think it's supposed to immediately. He lies about traffic, leaves his son and his wife to just sit there. No, his ex-wife, sorry. son and his ex-wife to just sit there. Uh, quote, rude or sarcastic, whatever it takes, when referring to Neil.
Yeah. Although Neil is also kind of a prick. Like, sometimes he's trying to help, but he can also be sometimes a prick. And I think that's the idea, but...
He's a prick, but I also find him oddly charming.
He is oddly charming. Like, he's... especially in the second one, we'll get to that. But, like, he just... he becomes less of, like, this villain character and more of just, like...
not a doctor,
kind of
he's a psychiatrist.
Isn't... Forgive me if I'm wrong.
He's just a guy.
For all the psychiatrists listening to me, isn't a psychiatrist a doctor? Like...
Yeah, I know. He's not a doctor, he's a psychiatrist. That's a quote under my Fuck Tim Allen list.
Okay, I was going to say.
He can't cook because he's a typical dad.
Yeah, because typical dads can't cook. Take that, typical dads.
Denny's for Christmas.
Denny's for Christmas. That's amazing. Denny's at 2 a.m.
Skimming through that book, seems aggravated to be explaining the fantasy of Santa Claus to his son.
Yeah, he's like, good. For a guy
one of the few redeeming features about the guy is he's encouraging a 6-year-old to believe about Santa Claus.
That's true, but he's doing it in the most dickhead way possible. It's like, come on, kid. And then...
I wrote down, yes, the timeless 90s classic where Tim Allen murders Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's I was going to say, that's one of my first notes, is they really brush over that. They really brush over that. Really quick, like, oh, he's just disappeared. Nah, you've killed Santa Claus. Which brings me to... Well, I guess this is at the end, but I want to bring it in now.
There's more questions. There's more questions to be asked about.
One of the main questions is... Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it at the end. Because it's a line the kid says that just stuck with me, okay?
Okay.
No, speaking of the kids being elves, it's mostly all right. For children actors, it's mostly all right.
No, I think it's pretty good. I actually really like cute. Charlie. I really like the guy who plays Charlie.
He's pretty good, too.
His name's Eric Lloyd, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
And they actually get him back for the sequels, too, which you don't see too often.
Is he the same
actors,
kid?
But it's the same kid, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it's like... Did they get a kid who looks just like him? Because he looks pretty similar. So I was going to compliment their casting on that part, but no, they just stuck with the same guy, which is the best thing to do.
Which I also respect, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that's no. Find someone who looks exactly like them and replace them with that. Just a
Speaking of I think he's really charming, and I think he's sort of he's the heart of this movie, and he's sort of what sells a lot of it.
Speaking of replacing someone with someone who looks exactly like them. We'll get to that.
There's so many things about the second one to talk about.
Oh, we'll get there, won't we? But no, yeah, I think he's pretty good. He's a cute little kid. He could be a little bit annoying at times, but maybe that's just my frustration with the movie. No, he's
unquestionably good. For me, the best part of the movie is David Krumholtz as Bernard.
He's actually pretty good. Initially, I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's slightly older than the other ones, but he also grew on me. See, that's what I'm saying, is like, elements of this grew on me. If you had asked me to comment on it last night, right after I'd watched it, might not have been so kind to it. But I think after watching, I'm like, okay, there are things about this that are redeeming and endearing, and I can see why it's a classic for many people. And I will not tread on this hallowed ground. I think it's pretty all right.
What was your favorite joke in this movie? This movie's a comedy. What was your favorite joke?
There were jokes, weren't they? They did a couple of those.
There were jokes.
They said a thing that was funny, and then we all laughed.
Did you actively laugh at anything in this movie? I don't think of this typically as a comedy to me. It's more like a sincere.
It's pretty sincere for. I think I might have laughed at some of like the weirdness of it, like at more of the. This is kind of ridiculous, but I don't know if there was a joke specifically that I laughed at. I might have laughed at like one of his rude comments to Neil.
Yeah, he's
fuck that guy. He's pretty mean to Neil, and it doesn't end. Like at the end, he's like, "All right, Neil is a good guy." But then when you get to the second one, he's back at it again. He's like Neil in his stupid fucking shirts and his stupid psychology.
Hey, those sweaters, in fairness, those sweaters are atrocious.
They are atrocious. But he learns nothing. At the end, he is very like, oh, Neil's your stepdad. He's a good guy. But then, clearly that doesn't stick around. What did
they're friends in the next one. They're clearly
I know. Yeah, they're clearly friends. It's more of a joking way. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. So.
But to be honest, I
when
don't
Charlie
know that
says,
much about it.
When Tim Allen is flying through the air, and Charlie says, "Dad, you're flying," and
Wait,
Tim Allen says, "It's okay, I'm used to it." With the bag, he's like, "Okay, yeah. I'm used to it. I lived through the '60s." I'm like, that's a good joke. Okay, I think you got me.
I chuckled at that one. That was a good one to throw in. Like, oh no, you cheeky boy, Tim Allen.
I actually think it's a good explanation. This movie has some interesting mythos, which used to be how I believe things worked when I was a kid, like the no chimney thing.
That was interesting that they addressed it. Because I can see them.
Yeah,
just
so
kinda, like,
I don't have a
by.
chimney on my house.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't have a chimney on my house when I was a kid either. Like, I was like, how did Santa get down the chimney? Oh, he just makes one. You know?
Yeah, it turns out he slithers through the electrical wires and comes out of your outlet like a snake, like a slithering snake.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured he didn't just break down the door.
So one thing I feel like we have to address in all of these movies is, in a universe where Santa Claus definitely exists, why do no adults believe in him?
Yeah, that's something I've been curious about for a lot of things. Like sometimes they kind of explain it away as like it's the spirit of Christmas. It's always the spirit of Christmas. But this one, they legitimately see him and go, "Oh, that's Tim Allen playing Santa Claus. Like, he's a real man. The police have arrested him." That's a thing that happens. The police have arrested him, but why don't people...
He also kidnaps Charlie. That's a plot point.
That came out of nowhere. I'm like, what is going on? This is so weird. But no, I thought it was... What was I saying? What were we talking about just before this? When I got so sidetracked by the fact that they kidnapped Charlie and to bring in the police.
Oh, the fact that no one believes Santa Claus exists in a universe
no one believes
where Santa Claus is definitely real.
Yeah, because Neil and his mom...
And Laura don't believe.
Neil and Laura don't believe because they have some sort of childhood trauma about not getting a Christmas present. But their kid has been getting Christmas presents this whole time. But was the previous Santa not doing it? Like,
what my guess is,
it's the spirit of Christmas, and it's
like
it's a
spirit of Christmas. The thought that goes into my head is like, oh, you see like a toy truck under the tree, you might assume like your spouse bought that or a grandparent bought that, and just nobody told anybody.
Yeah.
But when a fucking kayak,
I was gonna say,
is under the tree,
and then one parent goes to the other, "Oh my God, did you buy him that?" And they go, "No." Did you buy him that? Maybe a strange man broke into our house.
I'm willing to let like a doll slide. I can let a toy truck slide. Mm-hmm. Like that's something you could buy and get away with not telling anybody.
That kayak,
and then just everyone lets it slide.
It was a fun scene, but
it's a fun scene, but it doesn't make sense.
They're gonna need the spirit of Christmas for that one because there's really no way you explain it away, and I think it's just.
No, really.
It's the magic. It's the spirit of Christmas. It's always the spirit of Christmas.
Do elves mourn Santa Claus? Do the elves mourn the old Santa Claus?
You'd think.
Or it's just like, oh, the old boss is gone.
I never thought about that. You'd think he'd get back and they'd be like, we liked this guy. He stuck around for 30 to 40 years, maybe 100 years. I don't know if they're immortal until someone...
We don't know how long...
Santa
is in a given position.
Maybe he's a... So I'm curious, is he immortal now that he's Santa Claus, or does he live like a normal human being? Does he have like 18 years of effectiveness as this pseudo old man before he slips off a roof and is killed.
I'm not sure how it works.
Are they? Because you'd think he'd get back and they'd be like, "Oh, you son of a bitch, you got our favorite guy killed." But now they just welcome with open arms. Maybe because my theory is either like he was one of the first couple ones that like, he's been doing this for a while. We'll just, he was gonna go anytime now, or it happens so often that they're just used to it. In which case,
or
how long
like,
does Tim Allen have left?
Sometimes certain people are fated to become Santa Claus. Because I think what the movie implies is Tim Allen is fated to become Santa Claus, like, to improve his life. So Santa Claus is like a spirit or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, technically to abandon his life and become a weird man living in the forest or living in the North Pole.
And whenever Santa Claus, like, whenever Scott Calvin decides to step down as Santa Claus, or whenever he dies, someone else will be given
like,
the role of Santa Claus. Although it's implied that Charlie's going to become Santa Claus in the future.
And I was going to say, they're like, "You want to become a doctor?" And he goes, "I want to go into the family business." And my first comment was, is he going to kill his dad? Either has to wait for his dad to die, or he's like, yeah, it's the "I just can't wait to be king" moment where it's like, sort of spoke too soon. I know the third one's about spiky-haired Jack Frost. Maybe he kills Tim Allen. Clearly they're not afraid of killing Santa Claus in these movies. He's not an immortal character.
I wrote down something. This has nothing to do with anything. I just wrote down the mom looks like Velma Kelly.
Oh, she does look like Catherine Zeta-Jones as Velma Kelly. Another question.
It's not relevant, but it's funny.
No, it's something that I look back on and I'm like, oh, yep, she definitely does. Another question is, this Santa guy, he just fell off a roof. Like, it's an almost Green Lantern situation where the previous one dies and the new one just seeks out its new heir, and I feel like it could have been more... Like, it was very much treated as a joke and just kind of brushed aside, but I guess they could have also done it like, "You, my boy, are the new Santa Claus." But I guess then you miss his whole figuring out what's going on. Then you don't get the
jokes about Tim Allen killing Santa Claus.
That's true. You don't get the jokes about Tim Allen killing Santa Claus. And if we don't have those, what are we watching this movie for?
And then that weird running gag at the end of the movie where Tim Allen's like, "What do I do if I fall off a roof?"
And they never address it because they want him to fall off a roof. And they do.
They do. Comet gives him like a rope.
That's not going to help you. If you're falling off a roof,
Comet gives...
Is it attached to Comet?
Gives him a rope to, like... Yeah, he, like, gives him a rope to, like, tie to the sleigh or whatever.
Okay. All right. So how does he get down the chimney? See? The logic is falling apart. Maybe it's a really long rope.
I don't know.
Does it get stuck in the electrical wires he slithers through? As a Santa snake? Maybe he jumps in the water main, like, appears out the faucet. Like the clown from It. Like,
yeah,
It.
Exactly.
He's just appearing from different holes.
Would you watch a Santa Claus versus various horror villains movie?
Oh, that would be great. I would love to see Tim Allen Santa Claus versus It, just a competition to see how many weird nooks and crannies and houses they can crawl through. How many faucets can you get through faster? I thought that was interesting. I feel like a lot of... Is this the first situation where Santa's elves are like... They have like weird jetpack fairy technology?
It might be. It's sort of... Like
it's very common now in that, like, it's Santa and he's got the elves and they're like... They're building stuff with wood hammers and it's like an old-fashioned workshop, but also they've got these weird goggles and they've got a weird acronym and they jump down in jetpacks to save him. Because I feel like that's...
Arthur Christmas type thing?
Yeah, that thing that I've never seen. Prep and Landing type thing.
I haven't seen it either.
I've never seen Arthur Christmas. I've never seen Prep and Landing. But I feel like that's a thing that occurs. Very Artemis Fowl-esque. Yeah. Like the fairies. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Is this the first occurrence of this? The world may never know.
It might be.
Do you have
A
anything
lot of
else
this
that
movie
you
is
wish to comment on?
a lot of this movie is a custody battle.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And then she tosses it in the fire at the end. Like, you know what? You're a more responsible man now that you've got another job working with toys.
I
Oh,
think
that's
this
probably
movie is
also
where
why
the Jeopardy gag started.
the Jeopardy gag. Oh, the.
So you know how the Jeopardy theme song has become synonymous with being impatient.
Yeah, because you're
Like
waiting.
that's not what the show Jeopardy's about.
Yeah,
But
no, it's about.
this movie uses that song in that way, and now everyone uses the song in that way. I think this movie started
really
that.
is a trendsetter for just random movies about the origins of Santa Claus, weird elves with jetpacks, and singing the Jeopardy song. They've invented the song for Jeopardy.
Wow.
Trebek was watching this movie. He's like, "Oh, we need a good theme song. This obscure tune they're humming. This should be it."
I just have I have a few notes left about this movie.
I have none because I had like 7 notes and we talked about them already. They were mainly child labor and he kills Santa.
Okay.
Things that they brush over. Go on.
The kids all knowing that he's the real Santa is actually kind of touching at the end, you know?
Oh yeah, I think that's a nice. I didn't get the elves.
Like
I realized now the elves come up, and they're just looking at him. Where did they come from? I think it's supposed to be a metaphor.
They were the secret agent ones.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. I don't know if that was a metaphor or like a, but it makes sense now when you say that. You know, after the police go in. That's wild. This is a wild movie. I just wrote
weird grass sandwich.
Weird. Yeah,
because
like
at the end of the movie,
like
Bernard is eating like some weird
like
grass sandwich, and like that is the least appetizing thing in this movie. But I think at the end, once you see Tim Allen as Santa Claus, I think it sort of makes the whole movie come together for me. Just because Tim Allen, again, as Santa Claus works so well.
Definitely. I think he's better as prosthetic up, bearded up Santa Claus than Tim Allen. Like I think that's the best part of this movie is seeing him do so much as Santa Claus and be like, all right, this is cute and fun and endearing, even though for the most part of it, it's really weird. Like it's
a strange.
It's weirder than it needs to be. I think. I did not expect it to be this weird.
But it's also a '90s Disney movie. Have you seen other '90s Disney movies like Cool Runnings? That movie's also real strange.
It's also I'll give you that it was the era of weird ass Disney movies, and it could have been weirder, and it gets weirder. We'll get to that.
Oh boy, we're recording that right after this.
Let's do it. I'm excited to talk about it because I've just watched it, literally an hour ago.
All right.
Ready to sign off for this one?
Yeah, but at the end of this, so to sort of wrap up our thoughts, I think we should do like a review system where we have to say best one. It has to be a 1-sentence review, but it has to have best one at the beginning. Oh, because I'm a negative person. Mm-hmm. I'm a negative person just in life.
Yeah, it was interesting how this goes because typically you're the one who's like, nah, I didn't like it, no good. And I'm like, it was all right, but I agree with your criticisms. But it's kind of the opposite now. I think you like this more than I did. And maybe that's nostalgia.
Yeah.
Probably the same reason that I like Revenge of the Sith. Because it's also not perfect.
You have to say a 1-sentence review, but it has best one at the beginning. So my 1-sentence review of this movie's it's the best one where Tim Allen kills Santa Claus.
I mean, you're certainly correct. I'd say this is the best movie that suggests child labor.
Yeah,
is that gonna come back to bite me when they make like some Oscar-winning movie about child labor?
I have no idea.
To be clear, I don't support child labor. I think it's bad. That's why that's why my radar went off. But I came around.
Why do you think the most prominent elf in this movie is played by someone in his 20s?
Mm-hmm. He plays a really good 15-year-old. Didn't expect him to be in his 20s. especially not in the second one. Like he doesn't
Again,
look that
David
much older.
Krumholtz is the best part of this movie.
No, we've already established Tim Allen as Santa Claus is the best part of this movie. David Krumholtz is a close second.
That's true, actually. But yeah,
right.
yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. This has been back to back.
The two of you out there, we love you and thank you for listening to this. We promise it'll get better. Especially the second one.
This is our pilot.
Yeah, this is our pilot.
Yeah.
Full transparency. Tried this before. The audio was bad.
We tried this before and it didn't work.
It didn't work. So this is trying back to back number 2. We watched.
We tried to do like marathons around current movies, and we're like, I'm too lazy to edit things too quickly. So.
Yeah, we watched like some of the older Disney movies, and then we watched Mulan, like the new
Mulan
one.
remake. It was bad.
Not good. Not great.
All right.
But no. Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
Here we go again. Goodbye. All right, we did it.
All right. Welcome everyone back to back to back, a show where we watch as many movies in a franchise as we can be bothered.
And
my
apparently,
name is Noah Struby.
Apparently, we're also recording episodes back to back. Oh, by the way, my name's Cree Faber also, but this is literally seconds after we've recorded the first one. We're on to the Santa Claus 2.
Apparently, you have more to.
I have much more to say about this
one.
Because it gets weirder.
Oh shoot!
What?
I forgot to pull up the IMDb so I could say the thing that I say.
All right, I'll stall because guess what? I have this written for both the movies, and I've written for both. This is a weird fucking movie. Like I know there's your classics, but they're so weird. God, they're so weird. And for anyone who didn't listen to the last one, you should. I'm coming at these with zero nostalgia. I've just watched this for the first time 2 hours ago. But you, on the other hand, have seen these before. What do you think of them?
Yeah. So, The Santa Claus 2 was released in 2002. Stars Tim Allen and Elizabeth Michael. And it's directed by Michael Lambeck. And it's written by 5 people. You know, that's a good sign.
Wow. It shows. It shows. 5 people. 2002. That's when Spider-Man came out, right?
So, I'm just... Yes, it is.
This isn't nearly as good looking as this one. And that's praise coming from me, because I'm not always the biggest fan of those Tobey Maguire ones. But let me tell you, Spider-Man is better than the Santa Claus 2.
Before we get into our thoughts, give me a quick recap. What happens in this movie?
All right, so remember the man who murdered your childhood idol? Well, he's back, and it's several years down the line.
Yes,
Yeah. Everyone's older except for him.
Later.
And he's got to coerce a woman into marrying him. And also Stalin. That's it. It's a basic plot, except
that's the plot of this movie?
The one of the writers was like, you know what this is needing? You know what we could really add in this movie to spice it up? Just some good old-fashioned dictatorship. Just this uniform-wearing, marching around, just Nazi. Because that's what this needs. All right. Well, I'd like to start off the movie by saying I immediately thought of the...
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Okay. I'm going to start off this movie by saying I immediately thought of that meme where it's like, Mom, can we get blank? And it's like, we have blank at home. The beginning meeting with, like, they got the Tooth Fairy and Mother Nature. And I was thinking, like, Mom, can we have Rise of the Guardians? We have Rise of the Guardians at home.
That's a really good point.
They're all
I
just...
actually like them, but we'll get to that.
I like them. They grow on me, especially the one character that appears again. I suppose Mother Nature appears again. But no, they grow on me, but initially I'm like, this is diet Rise of the Guardians. I don't know how other people feel about Rise of the Guardians, but I really like that movie. I think it's charming.
I also really like that movie.
Yeah.
They have a greater presence in the next one.
Oh,
like
they
a slightly
do.
greater presence. They're not like main characters or anything.
Oh,
but they're
they
in it.
do. I'm kind of excited for that one. So that one really is
I'm just gonna
Rise of the Guardians light. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start this one by saying the Santa Claus 2 is unironically one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. I love this movie.
Okay, I think it's.
It was one of my favorites as a kid, and every frame holds up for me.
I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but it's not that good.
Tear it apart. I don't care.
It's not bad. Like, it's alright, and I can see how it's a classic. But it's so weird, and there's so many better Christmas movies that I would rather watch.
I don't care.
Like, okay, maybe...
I don't
listen,
care.
maybe it's that I'm under the pump to watch these. Maybe that it's like, alright, we gotta churn through the Santa Clauses, and I'm not just gonna watch them naturally. But, I don't know. They're fine. I started off by saying, what the fuck, and I don't like the talking reindeer. That is when, like, the kid... Yeah, the child actors, I think them as the elves, that's really grown on me. Like, oh, these are... Like, this is actually really cute and touching that he's, like, playing around with them and having fun. But the reindeer's doing some weird reindeer talk the whole time. Oh, it just... Let me tell you, time has done wonderful things for puppets in movies. Weird. Having just watched The Mandalorian, puppets in movies have come so far. Oh.
True. That's TV, too. That's puppets on television.
I suppose that, too. Puppets in general, you know? You go back and find some guy doing puppets, so much better.
I don't have as many... I don't have as many fuck Tim Allen things on my list as I did last movie.
It's because he's more Santa.
He's generally a nicer guy in this one.
He's already become the nice version of himself in this. I thought you say I don't have as many notes. I'm like, how? How do you have less notes for this?
There's definitely more to talk about with this one. So I think the North Pole looks better in this one than it did in the last one.
I think it does. Well, also the CGI looks better too, being 6 years on. Did it have maybe a bigger budget? They're like,
8.
all right, the first one was 8 years. 8 years. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Does it have maybe a bigger budget?
David Krumholtz playing Bernard is in his 30s in this.
I cannot believe it. He doesn't look a day older. He has aged like a fine wine. He still looks pretty young.
Yeah.
Like, he fits in with the kids, I think, as like a teenager.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But, you know, I think maybe this had a bigger budget. Do you know about the budget for this compared to the last one? You might have said it in the IMDb when I wasn't listening.
I can look at the budget.
I mean, I'm not that curious.
So the budget for the...
Oh, boy.
Blah, blah, blah.
For the first one? Was $2. Tim Allen was actually transforming into Santa Claus the whole time, and they just brought a camera along. They didn't have to provide any of the props or anything.
$22 million.
Okay, is that a lot for a back then movie?
It's $22 million. That's about average for like a '90s movie.
Okay.
And then the second one is $65 million.
Oh wow! So, adjusting for inflation, is that more?
So that's about as much as like Deadpool cost for something to compare it to today.
Okay. Well, it definitely looks slightly better. Like the North Pole set physically looks better, and the CGI of them running around is not quite as jarring. Like, I can look at it and be like, okay, it's just older CGI, versus there were some moments in the first one that were just, whew, like, this looks pretty bad. But no, I think for the most part it holds up. It's fun. I thought it's interesting that Charlie is now a delinquent, literally like Mission Impossibling it into the school to do some really like that's some really intricate graffiti. And also the principal shows up out of nowhere. Was she just like waiting for him to finish to pop up with the ladder, or did an alarm go off and it took her the whole time to get back?
Art.
She was just like, wow, you know, like, look at the lines in that graffiti piece, and gosh, just the color theory employed in creating this piece is just a marvelous work of art. But also, and it's like weirdly anti-establishment, because she's like anti-Christmas or something, and he's doing graffiti about it, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's a weird thing, isn't it?
That's a weird thing.
War on Christmas,
like it's very War on Christmas, which I guess back then doesn't have that connotation, but now it's like, all right.
Yeah.
And I also see why they maybe wouldn't put Christmas decorations up in a public school. She has a point. But I figure we brush right past
but
that.
She's also a prick about it.
Exactly. She's also kind of a prick. But she becomes not a prick. This has the classic Christmas movie character of a woman who's too involved in business to care at all about the spirit of Christmas. But then she meets a nice man and spends the rest of her life making Christmas ornaments for some children. Like, that is the biggest turnaround I have seen in a person. And
wait till you get to the next one.
It's so...
I think it works for, like, a Disney rom-com. If you view this as, like, a Disney Channel original movie plot.
Yeah, but it's so saccharine and
like,
earnest.
Sure, it was released in theaters.
It's so saccharine and earnest with its portrayal of just Christmas spirit and just getting shit. Like at that party that they do later on. I know we're skipping it, but, like, he makes the whole thing better by just giving them stuff. Like, it's such a...
That's what I like about it.
I know, it's good.
The Christmas spirit with this movie is very much alive.
It's very Christmas spirit, but everyone's got a traumatic backstory with a Christmas present they didn't get and they stopped believing in Christmas. Like, I feel like that's every single character.
That's not actually what happens with Carol, though. So the female lead's name in this movie is
Carol, which is...
get it?
But Laura and Neil both had that in the previous movie, and she's sort of like, oh, well, I didn't get the doll that I wanted. But actually, you're right. She does have that interesting thing. She got
the doll. She just got bullied. She got bullied for believing in Santa Claus, but then
and her parents
were like, yeah, there's no Santa Claus.
I think that was more interesting, I think. But it is interesting how every character in this has some sort of childhood trauma surrounding Christmas. Mm-hmm. But I guess there's
a lot of interesting things with this movie, I think, that don't really pan out, really.
Like, they just don't follow through on them?
There's 3 plots with this movie. There's 3 plots with this movie.
One of them is anti-establishment. It's war on Christmas.
So there's the cool idea of Santa's child being on the naughty list.
That's an interesting idea.
That could take up a whole movie by itself.
True, they do have several of the Santa Claus 2s in here. They've got the fact that he has to...
They have then the Santa Claus, the sub clause in the Santa Claus where he has to find a wife.
He's got to trick a woman to marry him.
I have questions about that, by the way.
We'll get to that. There's a little bit of questionable things. But, yeah, and then the third one, my personal favorite, is Dictator Santa.
They build a toy Santa, also played by Tim Allen, because the best part of any Tim Allen movie, the best thing you could do for any Tim Allen movie is have another Tim Allen, you know?
So the other guy was like, oh, okay, you know what we could use? There's not enough Tim Allen in this movie. And they're like, we're giving it all she's got, Captain. We've only got one Tim Allen. And he's like, with the wonders of modern technology and clever plot devices, which is the elves having weird fairy technology, we'll have a second one, but he looks weirder. That's also weird. Like, he's very unsettling as a character, which I know is the idea.
I think he's the best part of the movie.
I think he's also the best part of the movie. Like, there's scenes where he's like going around and doing his weird laugh and making them mine the coal, making the children mine the coal, but he's also like, it's sort of a funny thing that's just happening. Not that children mining coal is funny. Yeah. That's not what I mean. But I mean, like, he's an interesting character to add to this, and it's like weird, but it's
in some of his. I think Tim Allen brings in some of his Buzz Lightyear voice to play the toy Santa.
This. When did Toy Story come out?
He even quotes himself.
When did Toy Story come out?
Toy Story came out in like '98, I think.
Really? So this is after that. Interesting. He quotes himself? What does he say?
Yeah, so he even is like, "You are a sad, strange little man."
Yeah, it's so... I was wondering if they got...
Self-referencing, that's what I came to this for.
I figured they got Tim Allen to do the voice for him and then just got another guy in the makeup when he was next to him and just did some ADR lines. There's some weird... Okay, spoiler alert for this, which you should probably watch before you listen to this, because I think I recommend it. I think. Santa, right? They make a second Santa. They make Terminator Santa. He's better, faster, and stronger than Santa in every way. He's got a weird plastic face.
Work it.
Yep.
Make it. Do it. Makes us more than ever power after.
do. But no, he decides I'm going to follow the rules and I'm going to make all these elves mine this coal. And we're going to give it to all the children of the world. And then he pulls a weird move where he dresses up like a dictator with like he's got a sash belt and soldiers and that funky looking hat. And he's going on to do it.
Yeah, they just turn him into like, I wrote down Santito Mussolini.
He definitely has that vibe about him. But right, so at the end, Tim Allen, who's now regular Tim Allen because he's not Santa Claus anymore, jumps on the child reindeer and rides his way up to the sleigh. And they're having this like this fight in the... You remember this? Where they're fighting in the sleigh? And they're like kind of elbowing each other back and forth,
yeah,
like they're just two siblings in the car, and you can't tell who's saying what because they're both Tim Allen, and they're all like weird 80-yard lines, like, "Oh, you son of a bitch, take this." He's like, "Oh, this is gonna hurt," and it's like, "Oh, you wish you hadn't done that." And I'd love to just picture Tim Allen in the studio, just like going back and forth. You can't see me. I'm doing the thing when people are playing two characters and they're moving back and forth. Like where he's just like saying weird shit and like, all right, it doesn't matter. Just we'll put it in after the fact, Tim. All right, just say whatever. Imagine you're fighting yourself and you got plastic face.
It's a weird scene. It's like this movie suddenly remembers, oh yeah, this is a kids movie.
Yeah, it's like it takes a weirdly dark turn. And then it's like, oh, we're having a fun, good old kids movie fight where we're saying take that and take this. Yeah, all right. I guess we skipped over some of the middle part.
Very dangerous too. They're like.
They're really hanging on there.
Tim Allen is like.
I mean, it doesn't look good enough. Like we can
jumping across those reindeer.
Yeah, like clearly he's just standing in a nothing space.
He almost dies several times.
That's true. That would have been a dark ending, but that doesn't happen in this. But there is.
Yeah, because this is a kids movie.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, we skipped over some of the important stuff. How do you feel about, not the end, but like when he's just Tim Allen, you know, his character Tim Allen, the famous character, when he's meeting.
Famous, yeah.
Yeah, when he's meeting Carol and they're going on that date and he makes the sleigh appear. What do you feel about that? Is that genuine and emotional that they're meeting and like talking?
I think they have genuinely good chemistry.
I think so too. I actually, it wasn't excruciating. Like I saw it coming a mile away.
I really think they work together, and that date also to me like seems just like the perfect date.
Yeah,
like,
it's cute. It's cute to see that.
Hot cocoa, horse-drawn sleigh.
You know what we could use this date?
So I think that
just an
helps
extra dumping some powdered snow on us. No, I think it's actually a legitimately cute scene, but it's also a little weird at the end.
Yeah.
You know, skipping back to the end, the best part, maybe. But he's like, "Oh, by the way,"
he's like, You have to marry me, or Christmas is ruined for everyone.
Yeah, not pressuring you to do this or anything. Yeah, he even says no pressure, but you literally have to do this. And it's a little bit... Let me tell you, it's a little sus that she kind of... Like, she doesn't even seem that much going along with it. Like, yeah, you're cool, but, I mean, I guess. Like, she can't really say no about it, which I've written here in my notes. She can't really say no, but... Yeah, so that was a little... Does she appear again in the next one? I figure she does, right?
Yes, she does. So it's 4 years later in the next one, and they're happily married, but they're going through not marital problems, but she's pregnant and she's bored at the North Pole because she doesn't see any other human beings except Santa Claus.
So is that how it works? I was wondering this whole time.
So then they make a weird
I'm curious.
They do a weird meet the in-laws situation with the
Interesting. I was curious. How does the Santa Claus thing work? Is he fat and old, like all the time now because he's Santa, or I'm wondering like,
yeah,
does he go back to being Tim Allen for like the better part of 10 months, and then towards the end he becomes Santa again and goes back to the North Pole, or is he just always an old man in a small underground cave surrounded by children?
He is always Santa.
Okay, and he's always at the North Pole, or is he sometimes at home?
Always, yes.
That's a terrible.
He goes home to like hang out with his family. Oh,
but he doesn't.
Speaking
he doesn't
of his family,
spend.
I wanted to bring up
a lot of time at home. It's more of like an occasional visit.
Yeah, and that sort of gets addressed in this movie.
I'll say that's kind of
with Charlie.
Yeah, I was say that's kind of It's kind of a shitty life to rope Carol into, but okay.
And they address that in the next one. It's not good when they address it in the next one because the next one is terrible. I'm just gonna say that right now.
I'm really gonna hate it then.
I hate
because if I only sort of like these, I don't think I'm gonna like the next one.
There's cute moments of the next one, but it's not as good, and Tim Allen's obviously phoning it in the next one.
I can already tell it's gonna be excruciating. Like some parts of these were just, but that's gonna be. Ugh.
Speaking of Scott's family, I think they're really good in this.
I also think they're really good. They
bring something.
They don't just kind of sideline them, like they're in. I'm glad that they're there. I think Neil and him are good buds, even though he still continues to just trash him,
make fun of him
he
constantly.
Just makes fun of his clothing, his job. When in reality,
Laura's obviously very supportive.
Who is? Oh, Laura. Yeah.
Laura.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's
the ex-wife is obviously very supportive. Mm-hmm. Lucy is really cute, and I think she really brings something to this movie.
Who is she?
She's Laura and Neil's. She's Laura and Neil's daughter.
Okay.
So she's Charlie's half sister, but you don't have to like say a complicated thing for her relationship with Scott, so they just call him Uncle Scott, you know?
That makes sense, because I didn't... Yeah. So is it implied that, like, she was born in between these two movies?
Yeah, so this is 8 years later. She's 6 in this one.
Oh, yeah, she is 6. I remember that. Because I just watched it 2 hours ago. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I think she's really cute, and it's nice, like... Since Charlie's all grown up, it's nice to have another kid character in this, even though most of the actors are children. Did they get paid, I wonder?
Yeah, she's like 10 in the next one, and it still kind of works, but it's not as cute.
Oh, yeah. When was the next one made?
2006.
Oh, so they cranked it out. They're like, we'll wait 8 years before we make another one. But this one, did it do good?
Aesthetically, the second one and the third one share a lot more than the first and second one do.
Is that good or bad? Because I'm not sure which parts of this one I liked more.
I prefer the aesthetic of the second one. I prefer the aesthetics of the second one, especially like the North Pole.
I think I agree. Like the North Pole, it just looks better, I think. And it's less... the North Pole seems less like this weird, empty theme park cave with children in it. Which is kind of what it seems like in the first one. It seems more like this is a real place that they're in.
It seems like an actual place where it looks really like a set in the first one.
It does look a lot like a set in the first one. And I think just the technology of the time makes it look better. But yeah. No, I think I'm out of things to say, so maybe I'm out of notes. How has this happened? I figured out one of the things that I thought was really funny. Not funny, but like in the movie, it's a really weird scene that I thought was absurd. When when they're trying to teach Toy Santa, Stalin Santa, how to be Santa, and he's like, get the football. There's just this extended sequence of him just kicking kids to the ground, like
out of kids.
And it goes like he could have just like pushed him away and grabbed the football, but they're like, you know what this movie is missing? Who wrote this? Bob? All right.
5 people.
5. You know what this movie is missing, you other 4 writers? He's already an evil character. But what if we just had an extended beatdown sequence of just a couple of child actors? Watch this. He's going to tackle this kid. He's going to push this kid out of the way. He's going to stomp on this one. And he's going to chase after the other one like a madman. And they're like, this is the best thing we could add to this family-friendly kids movie. It's just this old man just stomping some kids. Like, okay, an interesting choice to keep in, but I guess it makes him this evil character. I think. I don't know. It's not a funny scene, but it's just absurd that they kept it in. I'm like, okay, all right.
I think it's kind of funny.
I think I laughed at it. Like, this is just so weird. Not that I'm laughing at kids getting beat up. That's not my. That's not something I endorse, clearly. But it's more of a like, this is a weird scene. This movie is full of weird scenes.
What do you think of Curtis?
Curtis
is like Bernard's
he's the sidekick. He's the kid who comes up with, you know what, we're just gonna have a cloning machine and a growing machine. It's Megamind's gun from Megamind. It can grow, it can disintegrate people, it can make another one of you. I think he's fine.
His overacting.
Oh, his acting?
His overacting is ridiculous, and it does not go away in the next one.
Well, he's back. I'll pardon it because he's a kid, but I think that scene where, like, you know, you have the classic scene where it looks like all hope is lost, and the main characters are tied up, and they have this weird, like, they talk to each other about their failings, and then they have this weird, like, moral just boost because they talk about their feelings while they're tied up. He has that moment with Curtis, and I feel like it doesn't quite work. Like, it seems weird and out of place.
It's like, what's the lesson are we supposed
like,
to learn?
Like, are we supposed to learn?
Like, don't clone
Santa Claus? Like, this isn't a very... Like, I guess on Tim Allen's part, it's like, all right, don't be an absent father when you're Santa Claus. But it's a metaphor for being an actual father.
Yeah.
But on the part of Curtis, like, okay, don't...
Don't clone Santa Claus?
Don't let the horrors of man-made technology influence the world or something. Yeah, I thought that didn't quite work, but I thought he's fine. He's fine. Does weird things, but makes for some weird scenes.
The teeth pulling scene. Speaking of scenes where Curtis is there.
I went to the bathroom during the teeth pulling scene. Where they pull Tim Allen's teeth out. Do they try to pull his tooth out?
So you didn't see
I didn't see the teeth pulling scene.
So they try to pull Scott's tooth out.
Oh, God.
They try to pull Scott's tooth out.
But then Lucy ends up losing a tooth, right?
Because they need a way to get to the North Pole.
Mm-hmm.
So Comet has gotten too fat because he ate too many sweets.
That's weird. It's just this balloon of, like, prop. This balloon of puppet. Just laying on the ground. Talking in a weird reindeer language.
Curtis's jetpack burned up when he came in.
I guess.
So they decide, hey, let's get the Tooth Fairy. First of all, does Santa not have a cell phone?
Maybe they don't have...
This was 2002. People had cell phones.
That's true. People did have... And it's weird that there's 3 methods of getting back, and they had to use plot devices to get around all 3 of them. He's got magic, but that doesn't work because he's out. His reindeer is too fat, I guess? You could have had him break his leg or something.
How's the magic work?
How's the magic work? Does he run out of magic because he's no longer Santa? Like, is that how that works? Is that he's no longer Santa?
No, I mean the magic for Comet. Like, is it he's not magic anymore because he's
fat? Or is the magic...
Because he can still talk.
Maybe the magic only supports a certain amount of weight. Like, maybe he got enchanted as a reindeer. It's like, all right, you're about this size. If you get any bigger, it's not going to work, I tell you. Or maybe he was just too lethargic to fly. Like, maybe it's not that he couldn't. He just... Like, it's not that he couldn't because he was too heavy, but he couldn't just because he was too tired. Either way, they then have to write about the fact that Curtis is there with his jetpack. So... I don't know. I guess I'm glad they brought back Tooth Fairy guy.
Trying to get Scott's tooth out.
Mm-hmm.
They slam the door.
They do the door slamming thing. Jesus. What else do they do?
Neil ties Scott's tooth to a toaster and throws it off the balcony.
What the?
And Laura's like, "Are you sure about this?" And Neil's like, "The old toaster trick. We used to do this when we were kids to get a little extra cash." It's like, whoa.
God damn. Okay, Neil. That's an interesting choice coming from a doctor. A literal doctor.
And then, like, Scott just gets injured. His teeth are indestructible. I guess that's, like, the remaining magic he has as Santa Claus.
Is that his teeth are... Oh, is it... Do they have an explanation for why they can't pull out his tooth? Or is it just that...
No, I think it's just for the sake of slapstick.
But then...
I think it's just for the sake of slapstick, but then
luckily,
Lucy loses a tooth.
That's pretty lucky. That's pretty convenient.
So does Charlie later.
I was also wondering that. When does he... Because he loses the tooth, but then at the end it just grows back? It's just back.
He's like
Magically. It's magically
he's like
back.
14 maybe.
I'm curious.
I don't.
Did the actor lose a tooth?
Who's losing a tooth at 14?
I thought they pulled it out. I assumed that they did the old toaster trick, to get some extra cash. He pulled the old toaster trick.
I think it's because they knew they needed the tooth fairy.
It was weird. Yeah,
I like him, by the way.
He's good, but he definitely comes to the rescue twice. Like, it's like, all right, the tooth fairy will save us, but then he's back again. He's a fun guy. But I'm saying, like, I think the actor for Charlie lost a tooth and they had to write around it. And then when he got it back,
that could be an explanation.
When he got it back, they're just like, okay, we'll just magically have it get back. Because that's not what happens with normal teeth. Is that there's no weird sparkle in its back. So maybe it's because he pulled it out that he got a magic one back? Or maybe
because he helped save Christmas?
That he gets a magical tooth? Why doesn't Lucy get a tooth? Is it because she's going to get one? Or is it because he's already a teenager and therefore he won't get a new tooth?
I think it's because he's already a teenager and she doesn't know about it. She also doesn't know her Uncle Santa yet.
Mm-hmm. So does the tooth fairy give him back his own tooth or just someone else's tooth? Like this...
I think he just gives him back his own
This is
tooth.
just some other kid's tooth and I found it on the floor. Would you like it? Just keeps teeth in his pocket.
Would you believe that the director of this... I think the director of this movie also directed that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson Tooth Fairy movie.
Oh my god, I remember that. What? That's what it was. It gave me weird...
Many years ago.
It's a weird movie because he's like a hockey player, but then he's also just a jerk. Like he's just.
It's the same movie as the first one, as the first Santa Claus.
Yeah, he's just a jerk, but then he becomes a childhood myth.
Maybe we'll watch that one at some point.
The Tooth Fairy. Oh, we can watch a marathon of just weird The Rock movies. What else could we fit in there?
Yeah.
San Andreas.
That one where he's a dad and he plays football.
The one where he's a dad.
The one where he's a dad and he plays football and then he learns ballet or whatever. You know what I'm talking? The Game Plan. That's what that movie's called.
I've never heard of this. I was thinking like a...
There's a movie where The Rock is...
Like a Jungle Cruise.
The Rock is a dad and his daughter does ballet.
Or a journey
he's like a bad dad, but then the daughter teaches him ballet or something.
And he becomes a good dad. We were bad, but now we're good. I was thinking like a Journey to the Mysterious Island or a Jungle Cruise. Did that come out? Did Jungle Cruise come out? The one where
Jungle Cruise has not come out yet. No.
The one where he's on a boat with...
Yeah, Jungle Cruise has not come out yet.
He's wearing a cute little hat. A cute little...
I think we need to do ones where The Rock is not a good... Movies where The Rock is a bad dad and he has to learn a lesson.
Yeah.
So Journey 2.
Journey 2.
Journey 2.
So not...
Tooth Fairy.
Not the Fast and the Furious, because he's the best dad ever and he can also punch people.
Yeah, exactly. Why are we talking about The Rock? Get back to Tim Allen as Santa Claus.
Because the Tooth Fairy is in both of these things. But yeah, no, I stand by...
I'm surprised they're not in the same universe.
Mm-hmm. I think... You know what? They're... Wait, does that happen with all the magical figures? That they just get replaced by somebody when they die? Because,
maybe?
Father Time is really getting on in the years, let me tell you. If anyone's gonna fall off a roof and just get killed, it's him.
No, imagine, he's like 20. He's like 20, but he just looks like that because that's how the
that would be the worst.
Father Time thing works.
I would rather be... Alright, if this works this way then, does the Easter Bunny, is he a man that becomes a bunny, or is he a bunny that becomes a weird man? I hope it's the second one. I really hope it's the second one.
I like the joke where he's like, I have 32,000 offspring, all in private school.
It's pretty funny, but it's also, it's weird. There's just a man in a...
It's like, don't think about it.
Yeah. I can't not think about it because I don't have the nostalgia for these movies, so I watch them and I go, what the hell is going on? But no, you know what?
Before we get to, Before we get to our final thoughts, I have two questions
about the universe.
Oh, there's more questions. We had questions about the universe last
Well, it's probably going to result in, I don't know. It's probably the spirit of Christmas. It's always the spirit of Christmas.
Why does Bernard, who knows everything about the Santa Claus, not know about the Mrs. Claus?
That's it, too. Like, clearly this has to have happened with previous Santa Clauses, right? Or do they just become Santa and they were married and they're like, hey, looks like I'm Santa. We're both going to become old and fat.
My
it's nothing you can do.
Justification for that in my head, I think, is like
it hasn't happened in a while and they forgot.
Tim Allen was a deadbeat dad in the first one, and he was like divorced.
Yeah.
But all the previous Santas were like already married.
I think so too. So they probably just didn't think about it.
So this has just never been relevant before.
Wow, we didn't have to explain it with the spirit of Christmas. You can't escape the spirit of Christmas. It's always there.
What happened to the last Mrs. Claus?
Oh, fuck. Okay. Now we gotta say, if you're Mrs. Claus and you die before Santa Claus does he have to remarry? Does he have to remarry?
Or is there like a widow's clause or whatever?
Yeah, like if the Santa Claus dies, they just put you in a storage room with all the other Mrs. Clauses? Or do you go back to your regular life?
I guess you retire? I don't know. Maybe you become an elf? Maybe Judy in the first one was Mrs. Claus the whole time.
Nah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
By the way, she's like 400 years older than Curtis is. Why is Curtis number 2?
Wait, how old is Curtis?
I know the real reason.
Why is
Curtis is 900.
Oh, wow.
I know the real world reason why Judy isn't in this one is because she is also in her 30s by the time this movie came out.
How?
No, she's in her like 40s now. I think she was like 20 something.
But she was just substantially older.
Anymore, so Judy
I'm sure they had to replace all those kids.
Yeah.
Except for
David.
Except for David, because he just, God, he has the age of he's the face of a youthful elf, which is probably why they got him. But no, the Mrs. Claus thing doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird to think about. I don't like that you brought that up, because there are a lot of questions I asked myself about this movie. That was not one of them, and it doesn't. Oh God, what happens to the Mrs. Do you also fade away?
These movies raise a lot of questions that they don't answer.
Like, imagine he's just going out on a regular Christmas run. Suddenly he falls off the roof, and you're just disappearing like Mr. Stark. I don't feel so good. Is that what happens? Like, you just have to disappear. There's no good explanation to this. Either you go back to your normal life, which is a weird twist. You just live on as some weird hermit Mrs. Claus and get replaced, or you disappear with him. Oh, this is a terrible life that he's roped Carol into.
Or maybe all the other Santa Clauses were terrible, but this is the first good Santa who's lasted a while.
Maybe.
And this is why the Mrs. Claus is only relevant now.
Like, every single one has died within, like, how long? 8 years? Every single one has died within, like, 8 years?
He's been Santa Claus for 8 years at this point.
How come it's an issue after 8 years?
I don't know.
Is there an 8-year countdown?
Again,
that like
these movies raise a lot of questions that they don't bother answering.
Do they answer them in the third one, or do they just raise more questions?
There's more questions in the third.
Oh no, I'm not gonna like this, am I?
Probably not. I like some parts of it.
I'm not looking forward to watching this. I'm gonna try and get it over with as soon as we can. But yeah. Any other closing thoughts?
Our closing thoughts about this one, though?
I think it's better, but I'm not sure.
I really like this one. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time.
Okay.
I say that.
That's fine if you think that.
Full-heartedly.
I'm not sure if I would recommend this to somebody. I think if you've seen the first one and you thought it was all right, then maybe watch the second one. Yeah. If you didn't hate the first one, the second one's a good one. We'll see how I feel about the third one. But you know what? It's fine. It's weird. It's really weird. Preface that. But it's fine. So anyone who's listened to this, listened to all the spoilers, and is like, you know what I want to do is watch the Santa Clauses. Go for it, I think.
Yeah. Well, what's your one-sentence review, Kree?
All right. This is the best one that turns an iconic children's myth into, like, a weird dictator. Turns him into literally Stalin. This is the best one that does that.
This This is the best one that raises a lot of weird questions about spousal neglect that we're just not going to talk about.
This is what I'm saying though. Like a couple years from now, there's going to be an Oscar-winning movie about neglect within like married couples, and you're gonna be regretting what you said here.
It doesn't raise. I bet they don't raise questions about it.
Oh, that's true. It has to raise the questions.
I said this is the best one that raises questions.
All right.
It has to raise questions that, again, it doesn't bother answering.
It's the fact that they killed Santa Claus in the first one, but in this they just breeze right over these, don't they? They're like, don't even think about it. Which I feel like happens in every Christmas movie.
Don't.
Like you can't think about it too much because it's even more so than like superhero movies. Just suspend your disbelief for a bit. Yeah.
All
So
right.
this is a good episode. We clearly had a lot to talk about. We're up here at like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it might not be that when it's cut down, but for us, it's 40 minutes.
Yeah, I will listen to this and edit it down. But
awesome.
Thank you.
Well, we said a lot of nonsense about this nonsense movie.
This has been back to back.
This has been back to
Stay
back.
hydrated, everyone.
Yeah, we'll see you later, and
right.
watch these maybe.
See you later. Bye.
Goodbye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back, the show where we watch as many movies in a franchise as we can be bothered.
This time we watched all of them.
Yeah. I'm Noah Struby, one of your fantabulous co-hosts. With me, as always,
it's me. It's Cree Faber, and I'm the not fantabulous co-host. Here we go. I say this because I think overall I didn't like these movies as much as you did.
Here, let me pull up the IMDb information for this movie quick.
That's a good intro. Let me pull up my notes. Start reading through them. Cause
I have notes too.
It's been a little bit. We did the last two, back to back in the style that we might want to be doing them, but this time it took me a little bit of a while to watch the movie, and then it took us a while to get around to here. But boy, was it ever worth it? I mean, what a fantastic...
Was it a movie? So the Santa Claus 3: The Escape Clause, released in 2006. It is directed by Michael Lembeck, same director as the second one, and it stars Tim Allen and Martin Short.
Oh, so was the first one not directed by was that a different one?
The first one's directed by a different guy.
Makes sense, because I think the first one is, like, it has a very different feel from the second one. This third one feels like the second one a lot.
Yeah, it's...
Like, it feels like
The first one's very distinct. The other two are kind of,
Mm-hmm. I think I'll start by saying, like, this Santa Claus, it feels like the second one, but with, like, less emotion. I don't know if you know...
Yeah,
you know what I mean by that? But, yeah.
Well, so the best part of all these movies, to me, is Tim Allen as Santa Claus. But
he's
in
pretty
this
good.
one... Like, in the first one, he, like, brings... I saw this in a review. I can't remember where I saw it. But, in the first one, he has, like, energy in the role. In the second one, he has heart. In this one, he has a paycheck. He doesn't seem to be too enthused.
That's fair.
But,
he got a DUI around this time, didn't he? I mean, maybe that was on his mind. But also...
So we've established I really like the first two. The second one probably more. Yeah. You are like mixed on them.
Here's where I'm at. I think I like the first one more than the second one, just because I feel like it's like it wasn't my favorite by any means, but I think of all the ones I'd watch that one. I don't know, because I liked aspects of the second one. I liked Stalin Claus, and I liked him being Santa. I think
Stalin Claus is the best part of any of the